Hello everyone, my name is Dead Gambit and welcome back to the inventory tutorial series. In this specific one, part 5 I believe, this is going to go into a shop tutorial. Now, this shop tutorial is going to be utilizing context action, and if you don't know what context action is, that's basically the player is prompted when near an entity or an object to press a certain key on his keyboard to interact, or sometimes it's the mouse, but usually it's a key on the keyboard. Let's say you want a door to open. Instead of clicking it, it prompts you press E or F to open the door. Or you're going to a shop, it says press E or F to open the shop or interact with the shop. Same thing with if you're making a teleport, or the same thing if you're making a quest giver. You know, context action. It's very useful, and that's what we're going to be using in this tutorial. So here I have my little blank R15 rig right here, and you can use R6 or Arthro, whatever you want. It really doesn't matter for this tutorial because we're only going to be focusing on the location of the humanoid root part, or the distance between the player's humanoid root part and the NPC's humanoid root part, and nothing else. So, and like I said, you can use any humanoid rig, but we're going to go ahead and get started and start setting this up. So obviously for context action, we do want to set a specific distance for when the prompt would come up. So we'll just use a number value. We'll throw it inside of of our NPC here. We'll call it range. I like to use a physical value instead of making one in the script. Because maybe not all my NPCs or entities should have a set range. Each one could be different, and I like to utilize the same thought process when I'm dealing with enemy mobs. Not all mobs have the same amount of range, so I want them to be a little more lenient with restrictions on that. So for this one, I'm gonna say about a range of 5 studs. No, We'll do 4 studs. 4 studs should be efficient enough. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, hold on, looking over my notes here. So we're going to, let me see. Just to make it easier on everyone, I'm going to create a folder, because maybe you don't want it to be an NPC. Maybe you want it to be a specific part or whatever. So I'm going to make a folder. I'll call it Interactables. Is that how you spell it? I think that's how you spell it. I'm not sure. I'm going to plop this little guy in here. And I also want to make sure that his primary part is the humanoid root part. That's what I'm going to focus on. And we're going to label it as the primary part. So we're going to go ahead, open our starter player. And we see here in the starter character scripts, we're going to drop in. No, that's not what I wanted. We're going to drop in a local script. I'm going to call this the interact script. Oh, it's hard to see here. All right, got my interact script, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start making some references. So let's do local shop. Local shop? No. Let's do local interact folder equals game dot workspace dot interactables. Okay. And then the next thing I want to do is put in our input function. So we'll do local input service equals game get service user input service. There we go. And now we're actually start making the functions for the input service. We'll have input service input begin connect function, and we'll do input I think that's all you need for the input if I'm not mistaken. Unless you need something else. No. Actually, it should be, let's do key and processed. There we go. So we'll just put in this small little statement here. If processed, then return end. And then in the next, we'll do if key dot user input type equal to enum dot user input type dot keyboard, then key code, code is equal to enum dot key code, and we're gonna set the key code to E. Then the first thing is we're gonna locate the magnitude of our, like I said, we want to make sure that we have our set primary part, because that's where we're going to get the magnitude or the distance of. And like I said, since I'm using a R15 rig, the primary part is automatically set to the humanoid root part. So we're going to do for I let's call it shop in pairs, and we'll do interact folder get children we'll do local mag, which will stand for magnitude, is equal to our shop dot primary part dot position minus our player. We should actually make reference to the player as well, so let me do that. Local player this game players dot local player. Oops. We'll do player dot character dot humanoid root part dot position dot magnitude. So this is what is going to help us read the distance between the player and whatever entity or object that we're looking for. Then we'll do if mag, let me put a space between here. If mag is greater than or equal to shop.range.value, and that's that physical number value that I had put in earlier into our rig. Then if actually we're not, for now we're not going to need an if statement for this. For now, what I'm going to do is, let's get back to that actually. So there's a few more things that we want to set up within for our shop. I'm going to go ahead and close the workspace and all of this. I'm going to close out this manager real quick. I'm going to put, where do I want to put this? I'll put this inside of the actual what am I trying to say here? Of the actual humanoid. So I'll make a script, and this will be our event script. And then inside there, hey, again, that's not what I wanted. Inside of there, I'm going to put in a remote event. We'll call this shop. So there's our script there. So we'll do script shot on server event connect function, and we don't really need any parameters for here, because the only thing we're doing is essentially your shop GUI is going to be inside of our little figure right here. So essentially we're just going to have the server send our GUI, send that GUI into our player GUI, and then we'll be able to access the shop from there. So let me see here. The next thing I'm going to do is insert a GUI, our screen GUI. I'll call it shop GUI, and we'll do let's see, local shop GUI equals script parent shop GUI, and we'll do clone, and then we'll do actually we do need the player here, so let me just make reference to that. And we'll do shop GUI parent equals player GUI. If I'm not mistaken, the server can see the player's player GUI folder. It's just that GUIs that are inside of it may be invisible unless it was the server that originally gave it to them. So we'll do that. So then we'll do if mag is greater than or equal to, I'm sorry, is less than or equal to shop.range.value, then we'll have shop dot event script dot shop fire server. Okay. And then you see if I have everything correct here for a second. I believe I do. So after that, we do want to add a little break there so that we don't continuously keep firing this event here. And I'm gonna test this out real quick. Let me give it a quick test. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to open up my player GUI, and hopefully if I press E, I should receive it. I have an error. What is it? Oh, I made a mistake. Very simple mistake. I apologize for that. The U and the I for the player GUI should be set to lowercase. I'm going to try it again, and I should receive our screen GUI. At least a clone of it. Here I go. I'm going to open the player GUI. I'm going to approach our little NPC. I'm going to press E, and there we go. We have our little shop GUI. So now we know that it works. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and steal. Oh, I didn't put it in there, huh? Where did I put it? GUI items. No. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I never even created an actual shop GUI. I completely forgot about that. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Paste that into here. Let's add a frame. Okay, let's get rid of that glaring white. Let's make it like gray or something. There we go. And I'm gonna add, I'll make it a text button, just 2 text buttons for now, for the time being. And I'm going to make a grid layout. See, I'm gonna throw in some random values here and then fix them as I go along. So that's kind of big. Let's do 1.5. Actually 1 and 2. But maybe 2 looks good enough. Make the distance 0.5 maybe, I guess. And we will center it. And let's see. Let's actually take some inspiration from our flip menu here. Is this the one that I want? No. I believe it's in manager. I'm going to take a little inspiration from the manager here, and I'm going to create a new local script. That's a localization table, not a script. Local script. We'll call it shop manager. And all we're really going to do is take the area for the where we actually select our buttons here. So for this button, I'll do Epic Armor. And for this one, I'll do, I believe I called it Epic Sword. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. You should name it whatever you want. And let's do this for index buttons in pairs script dot parent or do get children, do if buttons is a text button, then let me see what I did here. So the goal is to basically send all of that stuff that we selected to our player's inventory. But you probably want to set up... No, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that for now. For now, we're just going to set up the basic functions here. So we basically want to send whatever we bought to our inventory. So if we go into our remote function script here, we look into our shop. I have another shop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename the shop that we put in our replicated storage. And I'm going to call it buy for buying. And we'll do buy. So we'll do game replicated storage remotes buy fire server, and we'll go by the name of the button, buttons.name. We'll also look into our remote functions here, and we're going to do a little bit of editing. So we'll do player and then also item. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep this for loop for that sifts through all of our items here, but this time we're going to just change it a bit. So instead of calling it all items, we'll call it bot item. And no, wait a minute. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. Instead of items, we'll do server items, because we are storing it in our server storage right now, so we're gonna pull from that. No, let's see. Oh, I know what to do. Okay, so we're gonna name this one bot item, and we'll do an if statement. If server items is equal to bot item, then we'll do local item is equal to No, it should be if server items.name is equal to bot item, then local item is gonna equal to our server item, and we're going to clone it. And then we're gonna drag and drop our item.parent into our player inventory down here. So when we go back to the store manager, we'll have game.replicated storage, remotes, by server, button's name, and then on our server, it's gonna take the item name that we're looking for, search through our server storage right here, where we keep our items, epic armor. Oh, I haven't named this classic sword. Let me change that real quick. I'll actually put a space between there. Classic sword. And we have that. Now, so that would be for our shop manager, and it should work. Let me just do a quick peek real quick. Make sure I'm not missing anything from our original manager over here. Oh, I believe it's the while wait function that I need. So, let me just add this real quick. I'll wait, do, and then we add the end. Shift this over. Whoops, messing up here. Shift this over a bit. And for now, we're going to take the shop that we have. This doesn't need to be that big, actually. I don't know why I made it so big. Let's do... Oops. Do this. Something like that. That should be good enough. And then we're gonna go back to our workspace and drop it inside of our R15 character. Let's go ahead and delete this empty one here so we don't confuse the script. Press play and we'll see what happens. Alright, so I go up to him, and when I press it, there we go. So now we have our button here. Why is it telling me? Okay, so I made a mistake and I forgot to add the mouse button click. So here, so it should have been buttons, mouse button click 1, right? No, it's mouse button 1 click. You'll have to forgive me, it's been like a long while since I've scripted, so a lot of this is just now coming back to me. Function. Okay, so that should eliminate that massive spam of collecting a whole bunch of epic armor and classic swords. It should only occur when we click on it. Okay, let's try that again. I walk up to him, I hit E, I have my button here. Now let's see, when I open up, I open up the player, and in my inventory, it hit this button, I just got a whole bunch of epic armor. Why? Oops, what am I doing wrong here? You know what? I know this is confusing, but we really don't need this while wait. For the simple reason that it automatically updates every time we click the button, so that while wait is not necessary. The only reason why I added the while wait into the inventory was because we are adding onto we're adding stuff into our inventory, and that causes issues with like new stuff, because new stuff isn't automatically updated for us to select. But since we're just dealing with a shop that's already static, we don't have to have that while wait. So if I do this again, there we go, I should only be getting one. And as you can see in the bottom, we see our little thing, item received, classic sword and epic armor. And I don't really have any keybind functions for making the inventory show up, but I'm going to disable my shop GUI, and I want to look at what I have in my inventory, and it's the same stuff that I just bought from the shop. So that works. Our shop is slowly coming together. Alright, so the next thing that we want to do is actually implement a buying function, making these items have value on them, right? So the first thing, we're going to make a script. And this is going to be our values data store, basically. So it's going to hold all of our values. It's going to be different from the inventory, because in our inventory data store, we were actually saving the items by name. And this one, we're actually going to be creating a value such as some kind of currency, and then we're going to use it from there. So I'll do... Hello? Okay, currency DS for data store. And now the data store that I'll be using is data store 2. If you're not familiar with data store 2, data store 2 came out, I think, a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, and it's used by a lot of the big games. One of them being Dungeon Quest, I believe the name was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't played a Roblox game in a while, but I believe it was Dungeon Quest. They use it as well. I believe they use it for both their stats and their inventory saving, so that's an interesting thing. The reason why Data Store 2 is so good is because there is little chance of loss. So I'm just gonna start the little function here. So we'll do local data store 2 equals require, and this is the code. If I can correctly put it in. So this is the code, the ID that you'll be pulling it from. And the reason why you want the ID and not the physical data store 2 object is because the ones that created it, when they update it, it's automatically updated through Roblox, so it'll always pull the new data store 2. If you were to get the physical copy and you had a module and require it from there, you would constantly need to put the updated module inside of your game. So this way is much easier. And this particular format of the data store 2 actually comes from It's actually from the dev forums tutorial that Future Noob did. So it's really good for those who are starting out with data stores and they want to bypass the Roblox data stores just to avoid any corrupted data and anything, and they want to go straight to a more streamlined version. The data store 2 is good for that, and I would definitely go to Future Noob and look at his tutorial, because that's what this is basically pulled off of, and it's really good for beginners. So we'll create a main key. We'll call it currency. We'll just call it currency DS, just like the actual script is. Then we'll do data store 2 dot combine. We'll have main key currency. Then we'll do local function set data table, local user data. And this is where we're going to be setting up our tables. You can have multiple tables, and that's why I always, when I start making these, I always set up like different tables for different things, because you never know what you're gonna have included. So I'm gonna call this, you know what, let's change currency to stats, and let's just call this stats, because maybe in the future I'll include like level restrictions or whatnot. But for now, our first stat will be called, we'll just call it gold. And we'll set gold equal to 1. And that's all we'll do for that. And at the very end of it, we'll do a return function to user data. Hello? User data. Alright, and now down here, this is where we start setting up everything for our data store. And the actual physical place where we'll put in the stats. So we'll do game, players, player added, connect, hello? Connect, function, local user data equals data store 2, have our main key, and we'll put I'm gonna put in the player here. Whoops, come on. Player, get set data table. And then we'll start working on the stats. Local stats equals instance.new. I always like to set up a folder for my stats. Sometimes people prefer to use a value. If you're familiar with a lot of data stores, they usually set up a main value called stats, and then they throw in more values for that stats. I like to use folders for just about everything, because I think they're more neat looking. So we set up the folder, and then the next thing we're going to do is set up our actual currency. So we'll do local gold equals instance.new. We'll do a number value, not number pose, number value. And we'll do gold.name simply equal gold. Okay. Below that, local stats data. And set that equal to data store. Stats player. And then down here, we'll add a function. Come on, function. Come on. Update that. Update value. Updated value, sorry. And we'll do gold dot value equals, equals stats data get updated value dot gold. Now this is this little function area here is what we call on when we're updating, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so when it's called on, this is where we actually update the values in real time. Data store 2, unlike the regular Roblox data store, where you can basically set a value normally, like say you kill an NPC, you can just do whatever XP they have. You can just put it in their script where they die, they give you XP. With Data Store 2, you have to use remotes and functions in order to set properly change the values in real time and have them saved properly. So we'll end it there. We'll do update stats user data dot stats, and then we'll do stats data on update stats, and we only need one bracket open. So then down here, we're going to start putting all the pieces together. So our original stats table that we made, we're going to parent that to our player, and then our gold is going to go into our stats. And then at the end of it, we'll do a little print stats successfully loaded. And this will let us know that it's working. So real quick, I want to do a quick play test. There we go. So it shows at the bottom, the little thing says that our stats had successfully loaded, which is great. As you can see, we have our stats here, and there's our gold, which is at a value of 1. We should probably change our value. Let's do 100. We'll set it at that. And then see here. So this is where Hold on, so we have our inventory there. So now if we go back to our, let me close these out, make it less confusing. I'm gonna close these out. We're not gonna come back to this yet. What we want to do is go back to our shop manager. That we have in our shop GUI. So just open up the shop manager here. And we have it buying it. So what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to replicate. Go back into the currency. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to replicate that that function. Again, that replicated storage dot remotes dot buy. Oops. Dot on server event connect function. I'm actually going to replicate it, but this time it's going to be under our data store, and we're actually going to be updating how much gold we have left. So let me do a quick check my notes here, because I believe I have that somewhere. Okay, so here we go. So I have it set to player and item. All right. So then we'll do local stats equal data store 2 stats player get. So this is going to allow we do the remote, when we access the remote, it's going to allow us to view the script to, or the function to actually access our stats over here. So we'll do stats dot gold is equal to stats dot gold minus, let me see, this is actually going to be a little bit tricky. Unless I do it like this. So I'll do this game dot server storage dot items, and then we'll do item dot name dot price dot value. You know what? I don't know. Better yet, we can actually, yeah, I don't know why I'm trying to make this more complicated than it really needs to be. So forgive me again. We can actually just go ahead and copy and paste all of this into our data store. I'm going to put this down here. And I am going to remove this from here, because our data store can handle all that. Since we're basically dealing with the data store itself, it'll handle all of that. So let's see. So we can actually do this a different way. We no longer need the for loop. What we can do is we can do local item equals game server storage game.serverStorage.items, and then we do bot item dot name. We put these in brackets because as long as we have the name, it'll automatically find it. So we'll do game.serverStorage.items.botName, and we'll do clone, and we can simply take this and drop it here. And then we can also have it take away our gold. So we'll do stats.gold is equal to stats.gold minus, using the same technique that we used up here, dot price dot value. And then finally we'll do data store 2 stats player, and we will set the value to the stats, and that way it will update in real time, as well as also give us the item that was bought. So why does this have an error? Why the error? Oh, because I had an uppercase. Okay. So first things first. Let me delete this because I don't need it. I'm going to throw in a number value into both of these. It'll be called price. One value will be 10. Paste this in there, and the other will be 15. Alright, so with that, we should be able to properly buy the items. Let me see here, I have my stats. My gold is at 100. I walk up to the guy, I press E. I buy the first one. Services invalid argument. String expected got nil. Oh, we don't need to say dot name because we're already putting in the name. The button, the name of the button is already being filtered to our remote, so we don't need to put bot item dot name. It just needs to be bot item. We walk up here. Let me open my stats. Oh, my stats didn't load. And that's something that you'll run into only in studios. Your stats might have you might have an issue with your stats loading when you're trying to run it in studios, and that's because it really wasn't set up for that. Let me see if I have. Where is it? Oh, I don't think I can do it from here. Can I? Oh, yeah. So that's on. Yeah, okay, so yeah, it's like hit or miss with the data store 2 for stats, but only on the studio side. When you're actually in game, your stats will always load properly. So anyways, so I hit E, review how much gold I have. I buy this. You see it went down to 85. I just bought the epic armor. Let's see, I'm gonna buy the classic sword. It just went down to 75, and I got the sword though. So they added it into my inventory, you'll see here, as they keep adding on, and my money drops. So we were able to set up a little simple stat data store for that, so we no longer need to look at this. Now we just need to make sure that we put a restriction on whether or not the player can actually afford the item. So we'll put this right under the mouse click function. We'll put actually, let's make a reference to the player. So local player equals game players the local player. So we'll do if player if player dot stats dot gold dot value is less than is greater than or equal to buttons, and we'll do another price dot value. Then we can go ahead and make the purchase. Close that gap here, and then we'll do an else. We'll just do a simple else, and we'll print cannot afford. Cannot afford this item. And so let's go ahead. Let me close some of these tabs out. Open up our R15 or whatever you're using. We'll go into the shop GUI and actually I'm just gonna copy and paste what I already have. I don't feel like making new ones. We'll just copy and paste them in there. The classic sword we have set to a price of 10, and we know that the epic armor will be 15. Let's load it again. Alright, so we click on this. And oops, I forgot to open up my little window here. So we see that our gold is going down every time I click on the epic armor. And now, since I have 10, we set the epic armor to 15. When I try to buy it, it says I can no longer, or I can't afford this item. Because I only have 10 gold and it costs 15. I can buy the sword, however. Brings me down to 0, but since now I can't buy either of them, and now it also prevents you from going into the negatives. There we go. So we set up the part of the shop. We set up the data store, and now we have it restricting whether or not we can buy it. What else can we do? I know what else we can do. Let's add a little more let's do this. Let's have our inventory. I should have done this like a while back. I apologize. Let's make sure we can open and close our inventory. We're gonna set this to false. And then I'm gonna have a local script. Open. We'll call this open/close. Right. We'll open close, and then we'll do local input service equals game. Get children, not children, sorry. Get service. User input service. And you should basically know how this works. Connect. Connect function key processed. If processed, then I'm drawing a blank here. I'm sorry, return. If processed, then return. And when we continue, if key.keycode is equal to enum.keycode, we'll set the inventory opening and closing to M. Then we'll do if script.parent.visible is equal to false. And script.parent.visible will set it to true. Else script.parent.visible will set back to false. Simple open and close for our inventory here. Alright, so I press M. There's my big inventory. And then I can open and close, open and close, open and close. All right, so there we have that one. And then for our shop, let's see. For the shop, I'm actually going to implement a little close button. Since the shop is basically a third-party GUI that is foreign to the player itself, there should be no keybinds on it. So we'll just make a text button. Text button, call it close. Oh, that's gonna be a bit of an issue, huh? How about, okay, I'll do this. I'm gonna put in another frame. I'll call this main. I'll call this BG for background. And I'll throw these two buttons in here as well as our script. So everything should be, all your main stuff should be in main. Everything that's not should be out here. I'm not gonna bother trying to, let me change the text for these real quick to make it easier. Classic sword. Make it scaled. That's scaled epic armor. And for this, for our close, we'll just make it a big old X. Everybody knows X means close, right? Make it red. Make it white. I don't feel like editing the dimensions right now. I'm going to be a little lazy with that. And we'll simply add in a local script. And this will be script.parent. The mouse button one click. Connect function. To do script.parent. Script.parent. Parent, and we will destroy it. And we do that when we're basically finished with our inventory. But another thing that we want to do, let's see. No, I think that's good enough. So we'll destroy the shop GUI when we're finished with it. Hello? Okay. Hello? Oh, it still says I'm editing these. Can I? Alright. Why are you not letting me close it? Hello? Okay, there we go. That was weird. But anyways, let me throw it back into our little R15 person here. Walk up to the guy. Bam, we have our epic armor. I just bought that. And then we can also close it. We can go back to the guy. Bam, here it is. Now, let's say we want to prevent somebody from pressing this button 50, like pressing E 50 times, opening 50 shops at the same time. Because that's annoying having to deal with that, right? I know, I for sure know that, you know, that is a hassle. So that's when we're going to, that's when we start putting in restrictions. So let me see here, we're gonna start putting in a little restriction here. Let's go over to our, we close these tabs real quick. Make sure you're back into the, not the manager. Open up the starter player. Go to start a character, go to the interact. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a new parameter. So we'll do if player dot character dot status dot shopping is equal to false, and then we'll throw everything under there. And I put the break in the wrong area. That's probably why it was so wonky. There we go. So if the, or was it in the right place? No, I'm doing this wrong. I put this in the wrong spot, I'm sorry. So we'll do if player dot character dot status dot shopping is false, then that's when we want to trigger the shop, and we'll set player.character.status.shopping .value to true. God, I'm having a hard time seeing. Okay. Okay. So that way, this should be able to prevent the player from continuously spamming E to opening it. And then if we go back to our script here, the close script, we can simply do this. So make reference to the player. And then we can do player.character.status.shopping.value is set to false. And then we'll do a small wait, because both of these will fire at the same time and it could cause issues. The wait will make sure that there's at least a small, very small wait in between. It's like very, very small. So that way this will execute before this one and it won't cause us any issues saying that such and such doesn't exist. So it'll be players.characters.status.shopping equals false. And then we go back to our starter player or starter character. Let's go ahead, add a folder, call it status. Let's insert a bool value. We'll call it shopping and we'll keep it set to false. Let's go ahead and test it out. I open up my players. I want to look at my, I open up the workspace first. I want to look at my status. There's my shopping GUI. We also want to take a look at our inventory, make sure that everything's working properly. But for now, so I'm on shopping. I hit E, and now it says that my shopping value is set to true. Now, if I look at my player GUI, if I keep pressing E, I'm not getting any more shop GUIs at all. If I press exit, the value is set to false, and I can press E again and I have the shop, press exit. So now I don't have to worry about, having 50 shop windows open at once. And then let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. I almost forgot about this. So I did mention context action. Obviously, with context action, you do want to show some type of representation for what prompt or what button you're supposed to press. So let's go ahead and make a very, very quick Billboard Gui. Where's Billboard? A billboard. Let me see. Let me just add some text onto there. Yeah, I can see where it is. I'll call this context with a lowercase o, of course. Call that context. Always on top. Let's see. Text scaled. Let it say E. And I'll just leave it as this rectangle. Again, I'm not gonna worry about changing too much of that. But in order for us to get this to working, we should go back to our interact script. And right below our input function, we're gonna do a while loop. We'll do while wait, do for index shop. Actually, I'll just do for I. Trying to keep it consistent as I can for I shop in pairs, interact folder, get children, do, and we can copy most of this. Local mag. Go ahead and copy that, and then we'll copy our if statement over here. And this time, we're gonna do if player. Actually, again, I can copy this. So we'll do if player status that shopping that value is equal to false, then shop.primary part .context dot, you're an enabled on this thing? Yeah, dot enabled, we will set to true, else shop dot primary, primary part dot context dot enabled equals false. That's if our shopping is true, then we set it to false. And of course, since we're doing a while loop, we do want to break it and make sure that it doesn't keep going even though that condition was set. And then also we want to make sure that if we are not in the vicinity of our shop, that we no longer see the E as well. So primary context dot enabled equals false. So up here, that's if we're nearby, and if we're not already have the shop open, we will see the press E to interact. Otherwise, if we do have the shop open, that'll disappear. Otherwise, and then down here is otherwise, if we're no longer near the entity or object, then we will no longer see the object either. We have a few different things working for us right now. And of course, we want to set the distance. So we said like 4 studs, right? It's way too close. So let's do about here is fine. I think about here is fine. We can start seeing, we can interact with this guy here. So the next thing I'm going to do is turn off the enabled. Go ahead and hit play. Primary is not a valid. Well, of course it's not, because there's nothing called primary. It's called primary part. Okay. Okay. Now we should start. Oh, okay, there we go. So now we can start seeing it. So a lot of it has to do with the camera. So obviously, even if the character is nearby, if the camera isn't, let's do 20. since everything's rendered by the camera. There we go. So now we can see it as long as we're zoomed in. Obviously, if you have a fixed camera, it shouldn't be a problem. But we press E. As you can see, it just disappeared, but I press exit and now it's back. I press E. It's gone. If you don't believe me, because the shop is covering it, I'll even show you through here. We open up his inventory. I press exit. You can see that it became enabled. I press E. You can see that it became disabled. So here's our shop. What else can we add? I know what else we can add, and this is probably one of the most important things. We're gonna go ahead and work on this shop GUI again. We want to see how much money we're spending, right? Because that would be helpful. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in the... I don't want a part in there. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in the background. Text label. Currency. We want to keep track of how much money we have. This one I'll go ahead and mess with. That is way too big. So this will be our currency. Make the background 1. Next label, we'll do gold. Whatever, let's make it yellow for gold, right? And then we can go ahead and throw in a little local script here. Let's make a reference to our player. Local player equals game.players local player. Then we'll do a little while loop. I'll wait. Generally I don't like to use so many while loops because it can get out of hand, but since we're not doing too much, I'll be lenient with it. But if you want to ensure that you'll be able to update your values without using 500 bajillion while loops, which could make it lag, I would go with the value changed function. It's very, I would look that up. It's very nice, nice to use, and that way you can get rid of a lot of this. But anyways, I'll do script dot parent dot text equals, we'll do gold, have a little space, player dot stats dot gold dot value. And now every time we open the shop, okay, so I gotta make sure I close these. So now, or I'll just drag and drop it, whatever. So now every time we open the shop, we'll be able to see how much money we have to spend on our items. Okay, press E. Did the stats not? No, it did not load. Okay, so let me do something real quick. I'm going to save these. And then I'm going to go ahead and play this on the actual Roblox game. Okay, so here I am in the game. Let me hit F9, make sure. Yeah, so there's my stats, they loaded. There's my inventory with a whole bunch of crap that I probably most likely don't need. Obviously I don't, so I'm gonna start deleting these real quick. Just to give myself some space. Press E. And there's my gold from my stats. So I buy some epic armor. And I buy a classic sword. Now I exit the shop. There we go, I have an epic armor and I have my classic sword. all ready to go. Let's see, I go back, I open the shop. Now I have 75 gold. Do the same thing, buy epic armor, buy classic sword. I exit, open the menu shop, and there I have my extra stuff. Go back in, my gold is now at 50. So there we go. We open this back up. So there we go, and there we have it. That's the shop tutorial. Interactive context action shop. Very simple setup. I'll probably add more onto it, but I have no time. This went way longer than I wanted it to, and mostly my fault because after my long hiatus, because my schedule and stuff, I kind of got rusty coming back into Roblox. But anyways, that's all I have to show you for now. Hopefully I can continue the shop portion of the inventory later, where we'll have it set up similar to our inventory, where when we actually click on the button, it will show us, it will give us a prompt saying, do you want to buy blah blah blah, gives you the stats, gives you the price, and you actually press buy or decline. So I'll have that coming up next. Hopefully I can get it sooner. I don't know when I'll have the time to make another tutorial video at all, but like I said, I'm hoping it's soon. So please, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please leave a like and subscribe, as it does help the channel a lot. I'm sorry for this video being kind of long. I didn't expect it to be this long, but the information's there. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to comment. I'll try to answer as best as I can. And if I can't answer in my own words, I'll definitely have some links prepared for you that go to the dev forums or even other videos. Have a great day, and I will see you guys hopefully in a sooner next video. Hopefully. I'm still doing other stuff as well if you want to check it out on my channel. I'm trying to do more gaming content as well. So feel free to check that out. I'll see you guys next time.